got to treat that like just like as if you were going to touch the flame, you're going to get burned. If you're going to breathe that smoke, you're going to get cancer. So I was diagnosed in April of 2015. Started off, I was doing a yearly hazmat team physical, normal. I felt fine, 100% going into the physical. It was just kind of a routine thing. Chest x-ray, EKG, pulmonary function test, bloods, labs, heavy metals test. My wife at the time was 7 months pregnant, and there was a lot of anxiety with that, you know. That adds a whole different element to it. So we really wanted the news as fast as we possibly could. I was supposed to hear back in a couple days on how my labs came back, and then I was going to meet with a nurse practitioner. She called me back the next day. I remember I was in my car driving, and pulled over to the side of the road, answered the phone, and she was not in a panic, but she was pretty adamant that my labs were off. She said that my platelet count was really low and that I shouldn't be working as a firefighter, and that my liver enzymes are really elevated. And so I not really knowing what that meant, but she really made a big deal out of it. So I hung up the phone. Back to the doctor we went, and he's looking at it and he's like, yeah, they saw some lymph nodes that are a little bit enlarged on your abdominal ultrasound, and we want to do a CT on your abdomen. I knew something was wrong. I definitely didn't think it was going to be cancer. I thought it was going to be some sort of, infection or something to that effect. It was like a few days after that, I got my blood drawn, met with the doctor, the oncologist, and pretty much as soon as she walked in the door, she's like, you have lymphoma. She basically told us that day that, I had more or less a 50-50 chance whether or not the chemo that I was going to receive was going to actually work or not. I remember the oncologist saying that, she's like, this is such an odd type of cancer for you to have at the time I was 32 years old when I was diagnosed. And she's like, a 32-year-old, healthy male doesn't get cancer like this. She's like, are you exposed to anything? She's like, we see this type of cancer in 50, 60-year-olds that worked in industrial type atmospheres for years and years and years. And I was like, well, no, I'm a firefighter. And she's like, that's where this is coming from. It was everything just gone. It was like happiness was just pulled right out of my body, and I was just in that empty feeling of despair. Right before I was diagnosed, everything was going great. We had just bought a brand new house in the town that I work in. We've got the baby coming. Life is perfect. I've got the job that I love. I love going to work every day. I love the guys I work with. And then all of a sudden, in a matter of a week, I'm, for a lack of a better term, I'm fighting for my life. I'm not gonna be able to go to work, which is, being around the guys is kind of where I find solace in life. It's the camaraderie, the joking around the firehouse, the going on the calls, takes your mind off of things. And that was not taken away, but I couldn't go to work and be there, And then now I have this baby that I'm looking forward to, and I'm not sure if I'm gonna see him grow up. I'm not sure if I'm gonna see him, take his first steps. And luckily that didn't last long. It was within a day or two that all my brother and sister firefighters stood up. They've been to all my chemos. I've never been to I hadn't gone through a chemo without at least 1 or 2 firefighters there, without at least any family there. My wife, my God, I don't know what I would have done without her. She's been my rock. Without her, I don't know where I'd be. Without my brother and sister firefighters, I don't know where I'd be. Without the community, I don't know where I'd be. Without my family. So for those people that are watching this, hold those people dear, because if it happens, you need them. Liam was born on June 24th. That was pretty much 2 months into my chemo, and I was like a breath of fresh air. I look at him and I'm like, I gotta be here for him. everything started going in my direction. We found that the chemo was working. And so now I look at him and I look at everything in a more positive light than I had initially. His name is Liam, and at the time we picked his name because we liked it, and then we looked into it, and his name means warrior protector. And that's how we look at him now, he's my warrior protector. I never thought it would be job related, and I'll admit I'm the guy that, I liked the salty look. I liked my helmet crunchy looking, or I'd get new gear. My new gear would come in and I'd still wear my old gear because it was a little more beat up, it was a little more comfortable, and I would also, be the guy that as soon as someone took their mask off in a fire scene, I would always pull mine off. I didn't need it. The fire was out, and I've learned my lesson. I'm a young guy, and you're right, I was healthy, and I am healthy otherwise, that it can happen to anybody. And I think the fire service is one of those things that unless you know someone or you see it with your own two eyes, you can grasp it, people won't change. If you're in a department that goes 30 years and in a culture that is sucking up all this smoke and breathing all the diesel fumes and nothing happens, nothing's gonna change because it's always the other guy. It just goes to show that a small department that fights less fires is still just as susceptible to the toxins and the hazards than the bigger departments. The fires are the same, they don't burn any different anywhere else. So that being said, I think we're taking it more in a serious look. It's not, those guys anymore, it's us. Firefighters still die in fires. They happen. Vehicle accidents with their apparatus happen. But I think if you look over the country wide, I think more of us are dying of cancer than anything else. And you don't see that, it's not dramatic like it is, an in line of duty death where some guy, gets caught in a collapse or gets lost or whatever. It's much more subtle and you don't see it, and there isn't the big fanfare, but it's more dangerous. And it happens, and it happened to me, and I had no idea that it wasn't even, I never would have thought, that I'd have had cancer. But it's there, and it happens to anyone, anywhere, and it can happen from any call that you go to, and you got to treat every call like you're breathing in cancer.